Hi, this is Vanessa with Designs by Vanessa. In this tutorial we are making the Raspberry Slouch beanie. So this is what it looks like. Okay, and I'm going to make a smaller version. So for the materials you'll need a ball of yarn. This is Red Heart Chic sheep and this is merino wool. It's 186 yards. And this is the color Sangria. Okay, so I'm going to use two different size hooks. This one is smaller. It is a 4.5 millimeter. This is what I'll be using for the brims to start off with. And then for the top portion, I'm going to use a 5.5 millimeter. And you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a stitch marker to mark your round, and you'll also need a tape measure, which I don't have with me, but you'll need it to measure the brim and the height of your beanie. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so starting with the smaller hook size, 4.5, I'm going to chain 7 stitches, and the amount of chain stitches that you're going to work depends on how tall you want your brim. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is the height of your brim, so the width of the brim. Okay, so now starting with the second chain from the hook, that's your first chain. And that's the second chain. So working into the second chain, you want to insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So that's a single crochet. You want to work a single crochet in every stitch across. That's 2. So I chained 7. I have 6 stitches because we started on the second chain from the hook. So you want to chain 1 and turn your work. Now we're going to work through the back loop of all the stitches across. Okay, so instead of going through both loops, you're just going through the back loop to work your single crochet. I will leave a link for a slower tutorial for the ribbing, and it will explain a little bit slower on how to work through the back loops. And you want to make sure you maintain the same number of stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chain 1 and turn your work, and then repeat the last row until you have the size of the circumference that you want. So I want to make probably a newborn size just for this tutorial, so I will keep repeating row 2 until I have about 12 to 13 inches. Okay, so I have a total of 33 rows. You want an odd number of rows because you want to end on the same side as your tail, as your beginning tail. And this measured about 12.5 inches, so 12.5 is right there, and I like the stretch of that. So this is really going to be determined by you. You don't want it overstretched. Okay, so this, I mean, I can go all the way over here, but I don't want it stretched that much. Okay, so for me, this is a good stretch here. 12.5 inches is perfect for what I need for a newborn size. Now you want to join your brim. Okay, turn it so that the tail end is in front of you. Place the two ends together. Okay, now you're going to work a slip stitch across the ends to sew them together. Oops. So insert your hook through the side that's closest to you, and then working through the back loops only, you want to work a slip stitch. Okay, so pull through and through into the next stitch, and then the back loops of this other side here, just going through the back loops, yarn over, pull through and through. Okay, so continue that all the way across. So turn it inside out or right side out, and there's your seam. Okay, so now you want to start working around the brim and then crocheting the rest of your beanie. Okay, so now you're going to work one single crochet in every row of brim around the top portion of your brim. Okay, so that will be your first round to start the top of your beanie, and you want multiples of 8 stitches. So I have 33 rows. I really want to go up instead of going down. I'm going to go up 7 more stitches. Okay, so chain 1 into the first stitch, and then into the next stitch. So you want to make sure that you have a multiple of 8 stitches. If you don't, it's better to round up than go down, because you don't want the top to be smaller than the bottom. So to increase a stitch, you just want to work 2 single crochets right into the same stitch. Okay, so I worked a total of 40 stitches, which is in multiples of 8. Okay, so I'm going to slip stitch to the very first stitch to join my round. Okay, now I want to start by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. The chain 3 counts as your double crochet stitch. So what you want to do is, that's your double crochet stitch, skip 1 stitch, and then in the post, so right there, you will work 3 double crochet stitches into the post. So not through the stitch here, but through the post of that single crochet. Okay, so you'll work 3 front post double crochet stitches, yarn over, we're skipping that first one, into the post, yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet. Work your second double crochet, and now 1 more, work your third double crochet, all into the same post. Okay, so now we're going to skip 1 and work 1 double crochet stitch. Now here's the tricky thing. When you're working into a post, it's usually the post that's to the left of the stitch. So if you look right here, this looks like the stitch is worked into the stitch, but it's actually the one that you're going to skip. So this is actually a stitch. That's the one you're going to slip. So when you're working into the next one, it'll look like you're not skipping a stitch at all. So just keep that in mind when you're working around. Okay, so you'll work 1 double crochet So you're skipping this stitch right here, and then you're working 1 double crochet here. Okay, so that's going to be the repeat. 1 double crochet, skip a stitch, 3 front post double crochets, skip a stitch, and then you're alternating 1 double crochet, skip a stitch, and then 3 front post double crochet into the post after you skip a stitch. Okay, so see right there, I skipped that stitch. So that's 1 front post double crochet, 2, and 3. Okay. Sometimes it helps to understand what you're doing in order to really understand the pattern. So you're basically alternating a double crochet, a cluster, a double crochet and a cluster, and then between each of those you skip a stitch. Okay, so work that to repeat all the way around, and then you're going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain from the beginning, chain 3. So we're skipping this stitch here, which looks like it's worked in, okay, right there. So we're going to the next stitch, work your double crochet stitch, skip a stitch, and work 3 front post double crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3. So we're skipping this stitch here and working a double crochet in the next. For me, when I work the front post double crochets, so I'm going to skip this one, and then this post right here, insert your hook. I like to turn my work sideways. I feel like it's more comfortable to work into the post that way, and that's just my personal preference. You usually find what works for you. Okay, we're skipping this stitch here and working a double crochet in the next. Skip a stitch, 3 front post double crochets in the next stitch. Okay. Skip a stitch, 1 double crochet in the next, skip a stitch, 3 front post double crochets into the next post. Okay, skip a stitch, 1 double crochet, skip a stitch, and 3 front post, 3 front post double crochets in the next. Okay, so I'm at the end of the round. I just worked a double crochet. I'm going to skip a stitch and work my 3 front post double crochets. Okay, and then we're skipping that, and then that would be the next double crochet. But we have our beginning chain 3, which is a double crochet stitch. We're going to count up 1, 2, 3 into the 3rd stitch. You want to work a slip stitch to join. Okay, that completes your round 2. For round 3, you want to work 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So chain 1 into the very same stitch, work your first single crochet, and then into these 3 stitches, into that stitch, those 3. So every stitch around, work 1 single crochet. Make sure that you work into the 3 front post double crochets and the double crochet, the standalone one. Okay, work that all the way around. Okay, so I'm at the end of the round. on the last cluster here, working into the last of the 3 front post double crochets. Now you want to slip stitch to the first single crochet, and then you want to slip stitch 2 more times until you get to the middle of the 3 front post double crochet stitches. That's where you want to start your round 4. Okay, so work 2 slip stitches, 1, 2. Okay, now we're in the middle of the cluster here. You want to chain 3. So this counts as your first stitch, and now I think the rest of the beanie is a little bit easier as opposed to the very first set that we did here, because now you're working a double crochet on top of the middle cluster, and then you're working your front post double crochets from 2 rounds below into the standalone double crochet down here. Okay, so this is your first double crochet, the chain 3. Now you want to work 3 front post double crochets around the post of this double crochet here, and that's 2 rounds below. Okay, so around that post, work 3 front post double crochets. Okay, now you want to work your double crochet in the middle of this cluster, so this middle right here, and you're actually working into the single crochets you just worked, but it's an easier way to see where you should be working your stitches. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, right there. So now you're working your 3 front post double crochets into this double crochet stitch from 2 rounds below. So there's 1. Again, I like to turn mine to the side. I feel like it's easier to work with. Okay, into the single crochet right here on the top of that cluster, the middle of that cluster. Work 1 double crochet, and then 3 front post double crochets into the double crochet stitch 2 rounds below. Okay, 1 double crochet into the top of the middle of the cluster here, and then 3 front post double crochets into the double crochet stitch from 2 rounds below. 1, 2, 3. 1 double crochet right here in the middle of that cluster. 3 front post double crochets into this double crochet stitch here from 2 rounds below, and you're basically repeating that all the way around. Okay, I'm at the end of the round, working my last front post double crochet clusters into the last double crochet stitch from 2 rounds below. So you want to slip stitch to the 3rd chain from the beginning, chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, right in there. Slip stitch to join. Okay, so for round 5 you want to work 1 single crochet all the way around, chain 1 into the same stitch, work your first single crochet, and into every stitch around work 1 single crochet stitch. Okay, so you want to slip stitch to the first single crochet to join your round. Repeat the single crochet round, the cluster round, we'll call this the cluster round. Keep repeating those 2 rounds, and then stop after the single crochet round. Okay, when you start the cluster round, you're going to have to slip stitch over to the middle of that cluster, chain 3, and that's your double crochet stitch. Work 3 front post double crochets over this double crochet stitch down here. 1, 2, 3. Work 1 double crochet in the middle stitch here where the cluster is, and then work 3 front post double crochet into the next double crochet down here, and then just repeat all the way around. And again, the next round will just be 1 single crochet all the way around, and then you just repeat those 2 rounds until you have the desired height. Remember that this design was meant for a slouch, so you want to go taller than your head, the top of your head. You can visit the blog post for a chart. Okay, so my piece, including the brim, measures about 4 1/4 inches. Okay, and I did stop after my single crochet round. So now I'm ready for the decreased rounds. Okay, to start your decreased round, you want to slip stitch over to the middle here again. So 1, 2, chain 3. That's your first double crochet stitch. Now instead of working 3 front post double crochets, we're going to work 2. So 2 front post double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in the middle of this cluster, and then 2 front post double crochets into the double crochet down here, just 2, and then 1 double crochet in the middle of the next cluster, and then 2 front post double crochet into the next double crochet stitch down here, and then repeat that all the way around. Okay, so for the next round you want to chain 1, and then you're going to work 1 single crochet and then single crochet 2 together. 1 single crochet, single crochet 2 together. Okay, so repeat that all the way around, and if you end with extra single crochets at the end, just go ahead and work single crochets into those stitches. Okay, slip stitch to the first single crochet to join, and your last decrease, chain 1, single crochet 2 together all the way around. Slip stitch to the first single crochet to join. So I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail. I'm just going to pull that through And you want to grab your tapestry needle and run the yarn through the remaining stitches. Okay, just so you can close it up. Okay, cinch it up, close it, and then run it back through the inside. Okay, so you can secure on the inside. Okay, so there you have your completed beanie. So you can add a palm if you like. I have 2 different tutorials. I'll link up in the corner. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe for future videos.